Hey, I'm Sophia. Before we start, go grab a snack and get comfortable for a bit. These stories take their time, and they are told the way I'd tell a friend late at night. I really hope you enjoy them. This story has one update on it and my own opinion at the end. Comment and tell me if you agree. Let's begin. After years of being overlooked, I won a major award and celebrated without my family. The applause is still echoing in my ears when they call my name, and for a second I honestly think they've made a mistake. My palms are damp around the stem of my champagne flute, and the woman next to me, my manager, Priya, practically shoves me out of my chair. "Emma, get up," she hisses, eyes wide and shining. "That's you. Go." The stage lights are so bright they blur into one long, white smear as I walk up the steps. My heels click too loudly. My heart is doing this manic staccato against my ribs, like it's trying to punch its way out. I shake hands with the presenter, the minister for something very important I'm 2 days to register, and they place the glass trophy in my hands. It's heavier than I imagined. "Congratulations," the presenter says into my ear over the applause. "You earned this." I turn to the audience, breathing in the sea of faces, sequins, suits, cameras, and my eyes go automatically to the front right corner where the family seats usually are at these things. Tonight, that corner is taken up by Jade waving both hands like she's trying to flag down a plane, my colleague Marcos filming me on his phone, and my uni mentor grinning like a proud dad. The row where my parents and brother would have sat is empty, because I didn't invite them. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I learned I'd been shortlisted for the National Design Excellence Award. I was hunched over my laptop in the studio, hair in a messy bun, half-eaten sandwich sitting next to a mug of cold coffee, trying to fix a rendering that refused to look like anything but a sad Lego set. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. Normally, I let those go to voicemail, but I was waiting on a supplier, so I picked up. "Hello. Hi, may I speak with Emma Tran? This is she." "This is Hannah from the Australian Design Council. I'm calling to let you know that your project, the Riverside Community Hub, has been shortlisted for the National Design Excellence Award in the Social Impact category." I remember blinking at the peeling paint on the studio wall. "I'm sorry, what?" She laughed. "You're a finalist, Emma. 1 of 5. The awards night is in 8 weeks. You'll get an email with all the details, but I wanted to call personally and congratulate you." After we hung up, I just sat there in silence. Then I let out this weird sort of half laugh, half sob, and Jade, who shares the studio with me, spun around in her chair. "Are you crying over SketchUp again?" she asked. "They shortlisted me," I said, voice shaking. "For the national design thing. The big one. The one we joke about when we're drunk." Her mouth fell open. "Shut up. I'm not joking," she screamed. Like, full-on shrieked, jumped up, and tackled me. We spilled my coffee and absolutely terrified the poor intern in the corner, but in that moment I didn't care. For the first time in my career, I felt legitimate. Seen. I wish I could say my first thought was, I can't wait to tell my family. But it wasn't. My first thought was, if I tell my family, they're going to find a way to ruin this. I'm the middle child of 3. My older brother, Daniel, is the golden child. Lawyer, married to a dentist, 2 kids, house in the suburbs with a renovated kitchen mom brings up at least once a week. My younger sister, Lily, is the baby, studying medicine. So clever, so driven. The one mom brags about to hairdressers and strangers at Woolies. I'm the weird one who draws. When we were kids, it was more cute than anything. I'd build entire cities out of cardboard, and Mom would pat my head and say, "So creative, our Emma." But as we got older and everyone started talking about real careers, that tone shifted. At 14, I told them I wanted to be an architect. Dad snorted over his rice. "You mean like drawing houses? That's not stable, love. You're smart, do law like your brother. Real money, real respect. Architecture is a real job," I said, cheeks flushing. "Only a handful make it," Mom added gently, ladling more food into Daniel's bowl. "You don't want to struggle." Spoiler, I struggled anyway. When I got into architecture at UNSW, it was a fight. Dad wanted me to change my preferences. Mum cried, saying, "We just want you to be secure." Daniel stayed out of it. Lily looked at me with this sad sympathy, like I'd chosen to become a circus performer. They came to my first-year exhibition. They stayed 20 minutes, then rushed off because Daniel had something early at work tomorrow. When I got my first internship, Dad said, "They paying you?" A small stipend, yeah. So not a real job. Meanwhile, when Daniel got promoted to associate at his firm, Mum threw a dinner. Balloons, cake with "Congratulations, Daniel," iced on top. I'd just found out one of my studio models was going to be displayed at a public gallery for a month. When I tried to share the news, Mum said, "Oh, that's nice, dear," and went back to asking Daniel about his salary. It became a pattern. Every milestone of mine was measured against real success. My first part-time job at a boutique firm? How many hours? Is there a path to partnership? My first solo project, designing a tiny cafe fit-out? That must be fun. Can you help your brother with ideas for their alfresco? When Lily got into medicine, the family WhatsApp group exploded with confetti gifts and long paragraphs. When one of my community projects got featured in an online design magazine, I posted a link. Dad responded with a thumbs-up emoji and a "proud of you." Mum with "wow." Your talented smiling face with smiling eyes, and then the chat went back to Lily's anatomy exam. I learned to stop expecting them to show up. So, when the award call came, I honestly thought I wouldn't tell them at all. Just go, enjoy the night with my design friends, maybe post about it later when it didn't matter. But habits die hard, and some stupid, hopeful part of me still wanted my parents sitting in the audience, for once seeing me be more than the creative one. So that Sunday, during family lunch at my parents' place, I tried a test balloon. "There's a big thing at work in a couple of months," I said, between bites of Mum's lemongrass chicken. "An awards night. Kind of important. I might be shortlisted." "Shortlisted?" Dad repeated. "What does that mean?" "It means she's basically in the finals," Jade would have said. But Jade wasn't there. "It means my project is one of the top 5 in the country," I said. "They're having a big formal thing in the city. They'll announce the winner there." Mum nodded slowly. "Oh, nice. When is it?" "May 19th. It's a Friday," I said, my heart weirdly pounding. "There are tickets for guests, so if you guys wanted to come." "Oh, May 19th. Mum cut in, frowning. "That's when we're going to Daniel's for Mia's school performance. Remember, dear?" Dad nodded. "Yeah, the dance thing. We told them we'd be there. First performance, very special." I stared at them. "You could do both?" I said, hating the tiny plea in my voice. "The awards are at night. The performance is at 3, right?" Mum sighed the sigh of someone being very reasonable. We can't be running all over the city. Parking, traffic, we're not young anymore. And you know how anxious your father gets driving in the CBD. Maybe next year, when you're more settled in your career, we can come to something." Next year. As if I had a new, national finalist plaque delivered annually like a magazine subscription. Daniel, cutting up his kids' food, barely looked up. Lily checked something on her phone. That was the moment something in me quietly snapped. Not a dramatic crash. More like a hairline fracture finally giving way after years of pressure. 2 days later, I emailed the awards organizer and confirmed my guest list. Jade, my mentor, Marcos, the community center director, my boss from my old firm, and my current team lead. No parents. No siblings. The night of the ceremony, Jade came over to my apartment to get ready with me. She did my eyeliner because I was too shaky, and we blasted 2000s R&B while she tried to calm me down. "Do you want to tell them?" she asked, watching me in the mirror as I fussed with my hair. "No," I said, fastening the delicate silver necklace I'd bought myself when I landed the project. "If they find out, they'll find out like everyone else." Jade held my gaze in the mirror. "Are you sure?" "I've spent 10 years begging them to notice me," I said. "I'm done." By the time we arrived at the venue, a fancy hotel ballroom that smelled like money and perfume, my nerves were jangling, but it was a good kind of terrified. The kind that says, "You're exactly where you're supposed to be." We did the whole schmooze thing, drinks, tiny canapes on skewers, networking with people whose names I recognized from journals. I kept checking my phone, half expecting a last-minute text from Mum saying, "We're here," even though she didn't know where "here" was. There was nothing. And then they called my category. Then my name. Then I was on stage, trophy in hand, staring at the space where my family would have been and seeing, instead, the faces of people who had actually been there. I took a breath and stepped up to the microphone. Wow. I started, eloquent as ever. People chuckled softly. I wasn't expecting this, so, of course I wrote something just in case. They laughed again. The ice cracked. "I'm Emma," I continued. And like a lot of people in this room, I grew up being told I should probably pick something more stable than design. My parents immigrated here with nothing, and stability was everything to them. I respect that. But what they didn't realize is that good design is the backbone of stability. The community hub we built isn't just pretty. It's a place where people feel safe, connected, and seen. My throat tightened. I want to thank my team, who saw this project through nights and weekends, my mentor, who told me my ideas weren't stupid when I wanted to throw my laptop into the river, and my friends, who have shown up for me in every sense of the word. I looked at Jade, who was crying already. Some of us don't have families who understand what we do, so we build our own. I hesitated for a fraction of a second, feeling the edge of something sharper on my tongue. For once, I didn't swallow it. "And tonight, I'm celebrating with the family I chose," I finished. "Thank you." Applause. Bright lights. Cameras. The whole cliché. Afterwards, there were photos, interviews, awkward handshakes. We went out for Korean barbecue, all dressed up and huddled around a sizzling grill, my trophy sitting on the table between the side dishes like an extra guest. We toasted with soju, clinked glasses, retold the moment of my name being called from everyone's angle. It was one of the happiest nights of my life. And my parents had no idea it was happening. They found out 2 days later. My mentor tagged me in a LinkedIn post with a photo of me holding the trophy. The awards tagged me on Instagram. Some cousin I barely talked to shared it on Facebook with, "Wow, go Emma?" At 7:12 p.m., Mum called. "Why am I seeing your face all over Facebook?" she demanded without hello. "Award? Big night? Why didn't you tell us?" My stomach clenched. I put her on speaker, staring at the trophy on my shelf. "I did tell you," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "At lunch. About the awards night." "You said something small," she protested. "Some work function. You didn't say it was this big." "National award, Emma. We would have come." "No, you wouldn't have," I said quietly. "You said you were going to Daniel's. Too far, too much parking, remember?" There was a pause. I could picture her standing at the kitchen bench, phone in one hand, tea towel in the other. "You should have insisted," she said. "You know we support you. We tell everyone our daughter is an architect." "Do you?" I said, before I could stop myself. "Because most of the time you tell people your son is a lawyer and your daughter is a doctor, and I'm the creative one who draws." She gasped. "That's not fair." "What's not fair?" I said, heat rising, "is you acting shocked I didn't invite you when you've made it very clear for 10 years that my work is optional. Not worth rearranging a school performance for. I wasn't going to risk my one big night getting overshadowed by another. Oh, sorry, we couldn't make it." Dad's voice came faintly in the background. "Is that Emma? Put it on speaker." "Great." "Emma," he said, now louder. "You're being very dramatic. We're happy for you. We just wish you'd included us." "I wished you'd included me for years," I shot back. "You didn't. So this time I didn't include you. That's it." Mum started to cry. "I can't believe you would punish us like this." I closed my eyes. It's not about punishment. It's about self-preservation. I needed one night where I wasn't the side quest to someone else's main story. "You've changed," Dad said, disappointed. "Since you moved out, since you started this career. You think you're better than your family now." That one stung. "No," I said. "I just think I deserve to be treated like my work matters. And if you can't do that, then I have people who will." We ended the call not exactly on a slam, but with that brittle politeness that feels worse. I put my phone down, sat on the floor in front of the trophy, and let myself cry. Not because they weren't there at the awards, that part I'd made peace with, but because even now, even confronted with a physical, undeniable symbol of my success, their first reaction was to make it about what I'd done to them. That night, I went out to dinner with Jade and our friend group again. We toasted not just to the award, but to boundaries. To the decision I'd made, and the life I was choosing to build without waiting for my family to catch up. For the first time in years, when I thought about my future, it wasn't defined by who would or wouldn't show up. It was defined by me. And honestly, that felt like the biggest win of all. Stepping out of Emma's shoes for a second, this whole situation is textbook death by 1,000 minimizations. On paper, her parents don't look like cartoon villains. They're not burning her sketchbooks or forbidding her from studying architecture. They're doing what a lot of well-meaning, anxious parents do, worshipping stability because they remember instability and then pushing their kids into safe boxes. But the way that plays out is brutal. Every time they downgrade her milestones to a small work thing, every time they throw a party for Daniel's promotion and give Emma a thumbs-up emoji for a national feature, they're sending the same message. Your path is less real. Emma, meanwhile, is that classic middle child who's learned to be low maintenance because high needs never paid off. She tests them. Hey, I might be shortlisted for this huge thing. And the moment they confirm her fear by prioritizing a school dance over a once-in-a-career night, something in her finally fractures. The decision not to invite them isn't petty. It's protective. She's trying to safeguard one night from the usual pattern of being sidelined. When they find out, instead of going, "Wow, we messed up," they lead with, "Why didn't you invite us? And you're punishing us." That's such a telling reflex. The center of gravity is always their hurt, their disappointment, their version of events. Emma's award is almost incidental. Is the phone call harsh? Sure. But honestly, it's the first time she's spoken to them in the same blunt language they've been speaking to her for years, just without pretending it doesn't hurt. And we're not done yet. Update, 10 months later. Hey, it's Emma again. Life has been a lot since the night I became that ungrateful daughter who didn't invite her parents to a national awards ceremony. After the call, things got icy. Mom downgraded our usual weekly check-ins to the occasional text, "Hope you're well." Dad's blood pressure high. Lily doing exams, pray for her. I responded politely, but briefly. I didn't volunteer information. I didn't send photos of new projects. Daniel didn't reach out at all. Lily texted once. Lily. Hey. Mom's pretty upset. Just so you know. Me. I'm pretty upset about the last 10 years so. She left it on read. Meanwhile, my career did that weird thing where once one big thing happens, others start to snowball. The award meant more visibility. The council asked me to consult on another community project. A magazine did a feature on young designers redefining public space, and my face ended up on the cover with a headline. The architect who built her own support system. The article included a line from our interview where I'd said, "Not everyone's family understands what you do. Sometimes you have to stop begging the wrong people for validation and build your own cheering squad." I didn't mention my parents by name, but let's be real. I might as well have. Mom called me the day the article came out. I let it go to voicemail, then listened with my stomach in knots. "Emma, it's Mom." Her voice trembled. "I saw the magazine at the chemist. Is that how you see us? As the wrong people? I don't know why you would say such things publicly. People will think we are terrible parents. Please call me." I didn't call immediately. I went for a walk instead, looping around the park until my brain stopped buzzing. When I finally rang back that evening, I went in prepared. I'd even written notes because I know how easily I get knocked off balance in emotional conversations with them. Mom picked up on the first ring. "Emma. Mum. Your father is here too," she said stiffly. "We're on speaker." "My favorite. I read your article," Dad said. "You made us sound like strangers." I took a breath. "I didn't mention you specifically. I spoke about my experience of not feeling supported in my work. But you didn't need to say it at all, Mom protested. Some things stay in the family. Staying in the family is exactly why it never changed, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I spoke about it publicly because pretending everything is fine while I slowly shrink myself wasn't working anymore. There was a long pause. We went to your cousin's wedding last week, Mom said finally. Everyone came up to us saying, "You must be so proud of Emma. She's in magazines winning awards." We felt like fools. We didn't even know about some of these things. That's sort of the point, I said gently. You don't know because you haven't wanted to know. Not really. If it's not a neat, traditional success, law, medicine, mortgages, you switch off. I stopped telling you because every time I tried, I walked away feeling smaller. Dad exhaled heavily. We worked so hard to give you kids a stable life. We didn't want you to struggle the way we did. We thought pushing you towards safe jobs was being good parents. I know, I said. I'm not pretending your intentions were bad, but the impact was. I told them, calmly and in more detail than I'd ever managed, about the countless times I'd felt dismissed. The birthday they forgot to sing for me because they were too busy organizing a cake for Daniel's promotion. The art exhibition they left after 10 minutes because Lily had an early class. The way they'd introduced me as the creative one like it was a cute phase. Mum cried. Dad was quiet. At one point, Mum said, "You never said you felt this way." I tried, I said. But every time I got close, you'd say I was being dramatic or ungrateful. So I stopped. Silence again. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. What do you want from us now? That question stunned me. In the past, they would have told me what they wanted. Hearing them ask the reverse, it felt like a tiny door cracking open. I don't want groveling, I said. I don't want you to suddenly become our critics. I just want honesty and effort. If you're proud, say it because you mean it, not because I have a trophy in my hand. Show up when you can. Don't belittle what you don't understand. And if you can't do those things, then let's have less contact instead of pretending we're close. Mum sniffed. Of course we can do those things. I didn't say you haven't so far. For once, I let the silence say it. Dad spoke again, quieter. We would like to start over if possible, he said. I can't promise I won't say stupid things. But I am proud of you, Emma. I just didn't know how to show it if it wasn't in a way that made sense to me. That made my throat tight. We can't change the past, he added. But maybe we can be better in the future, if you'll let us. Being better in the future, I said slowly, starts with not making my boundaries about you being victims. When I didn't invite you, your first reaction was that I was punishing you, not that maybe you'd hurt me. Mum whispered, "We're sorry." It wasn't a perfectly worded apology. There was no TED Talk level self-awareness. But it was more than I'd ever gotten. We agreed to grab dinner the following week. Neutral ground, no siblings, just the three of us. That dinner was awkward. Mum overcompensated, asking 87 questions about my projects. Dad kept telling the waitress, "Our daughter is an award-winning architect, you know," which made me want to sink through the floor. But underneath the clumsiness, there was genuine effort. At one point, Mum pulled out a crumpled clipping of the magazine article from her handbag. "I cut this out," she said, smoothing it on the table. "I show it to my friends. I know we didn't always show it, but we are proud of you, Em. We just worry." "I know," I said. "I worry too. But I'd rather struggle doing something that feels like me than be safe and miserable." She nodded, eyes shining. "You must get that from your father," she said, and we all laughed, tension easing for the first time in months. We're not suddenly the kind of family that sits in a circle sharing feelings. Daniel still hasn't spoken to me about any of it. Lily sent me a cautious, "Heard you had dinner with the Rents. How was it?" And then ghosted when I replied honestly. But a few weeks ago, I had a smaller event, a community showcase at the hub I designed. Local kids had done murals, there was a sausage sizzle, nothing glamorous. I texted my parents the details, fully expecting a polite excuse. They came. They were 15 minutes early. Dad wore the same colored shirt he'd worn to my awards night in the photos he'd seen. Mom brought a Tupperware container of spring rolls for the volunteers. They walked around the hub, touching the walls, reading the plaques. "This is really something," Dad said quietly, looking up at the light flooding through the high windows. "You did this." "We did," I corrected automatically, thinking of my team. "But you led it," he insisted. "If we'd known this is what you meant when you said community project, you could have asked," I said gently. He nodded. "We will ask more from now on." Later, I watched him tell a random retiree at the sausage sizzle, "My daughter designed this building." His chest puffed out the way it used to when he talked about Daniel's cases. It didn't erase the years he hadn't, but it added a layer on top that felt less raw. I celebrated that night too. Not with a big party, just pizza on the studio floor with my friends, my parents' surprised faces still playing in my mind. It wasn't the same as the award night. It didn't have to be. Here's the thing I've realized. Celebrating without my family that first time wasn't about cutting them out forever. It was about proving to myself that my joy didn't depend on their presence. Once I knew I could stand on my own, it stopped being all or nothing. Now, if they show up, it's a bonus. If they don't, it's not the end of the world. The spotlight is mine either way. And I'm finally okay with that. Time to pass judgment on the cast of this little drama. Emma, honestly, she handled this with more grace than a lot of people would. Years of minimization could easily have turned into scorched earth revenge, tagging her parents in angry posts, naming and shaming them in interviews. Instead, she did something quietly radical. She excluded them from one night. That's it. One night where she didn't risk standing in a sparkly dress, scanning the crowd for faces that never appear. Her acceptance speech line about the family I chose was a soft call-out, not a flamethrower. The real turning point is her willingness to actually articulate the hurt when confronted, rather than just sulking for the rest of her life. That's emotional heavy lifting. Mom and Dad. These two are almost painfully realistic. They're not cackling in a tower. They're doing the classic boomer/immigrant parent combo of "we sacrificed everything, therefore we get to define what success looks like." Their fear of instability calcified into chronic dismissal of anything that doesn't look like law or medicine. The heartbreaking bit is that they clearly do care. They keep the magazine clipping, they brag once it's socially sanctioned, but their care is filtered through their own anxiety and pride. The initial reaction to the award, "Why didn't you invite us?" is peak self-centering. But credit where it's due, when Emma finally lays it out, they don't double down forever. Dad asking, "What do you want from us now?" is a surprisingly humble pivot for someone who's spent decades being the authority. They'll keep messing up, but they've at least stepped into the right conversation. Daniel and Lily. The siblings are background characters, but crucial ones. Daniel basically floats on a sea of parental approval and doesn't question it, which tracks. His worst crime is apathy. He benefits from the system and has no incentive to examine it. Lily's in that uncomfortable youngest child spot, still marinated in parental expectations, too busy surviving med school and being the good kid to rock the boat. Her "mom's upset" text says it all. Her loyalty reflex is still upwards, not sideways. Are they monsters? No. But they're complicit in a hierarchy that hurts their sister, and silence is a choice. The real villain here isn't any one person. It's a family narrative that sorted the kids into serious and frivolous tracks and then acted confused when resentment bloomed. Emma rewriting that script by celebrating without them was both a boundary and a proof of concept. Her life can be full, joyful, significant without their permission. The satisfying part isn't that her parents are now perfect cheerleaders. It's that the power balance has shifted. She's no longer the kid waving a report card begging for gold stars. She's an adult with a full table, friends, colleagues, community, who can say, "You're welcome to join the party, but the party happens whether you come or not." And honestly, that's the kind of quiet, grown-up revenge that hits the hardest.